what I like to do before putting the drain in and pouring the concrete in that hole is I like to rough the edges up if it's not rough already. I'll do that with a hammer, chisel, and I like to make sure that it's sloped inwards as it goes down. That way the concrete, once it's in there, won't never move. Once the drain is in, I fill it in, and what I like to do is get ready for the pre-slope and the curb and everything. So I clean up the concrete real good. And you notice I got 2x6s in the wall going across, blocking in the wall, and I'll explain that later. But then I like to put in the curb. Now I like to use treated wood for the curb because I can anchor it down and that curb is not going to move. You can kick it, stomp on it, it's not going to move. And I anchor it down with 1/2-inch wedge anchors directly into the concrete. And I use treated wood, and I'm going to put the membrane is going to wrap over top of that, and then after I put the Durarock on there, I'm going to put liquid membrane, several coats on that, so it never will get wet. And here we have the pre-slope. And I put the pre-slope in for chance if water does get down to the membrane. That way the pre-slope has it angled to the drain. Already has the membrane angled to the drain. So that way if any water gets down in there, it'll work its way to the drain and down the drain and doesn't sit in a corner somewhere and get stagnant. These weep holes are located on the clamping part of the drain. That's the part of the drain that clamps down on top of the membrane. So the weep holes are actually on top of the membrane. They have channels too that that go in between the membrane and it goes into the drain. The channels do, and I want to show you in a short video how these weep holes work for when water does get down that far in how it goes down the drain. This is how them weep holes work. In case water does get down this far, watch this. Oops. Can you see it coming out that weep hole? See it? It's not coming over. It's going under. That's when you know you've installed the drain correctly. First of all, no leaks. Second of all, and weep holes work. And when I'm pouring the mud on here, what I'll do is I'll put a little gravel around this. After I screw the drain in, put a little gravel under there so the mud doesn't fill in the weep holes in the drain canals. But I just thought I'd throw that in there. Nice drippage going on right there. Good. Now after I finish building the curb height, I'll be putting the liner in. And I wanted to talk a little bit more about them 2x6 blocking I have in the wall. That's because whenever I pack the mud in, I don't have the Durarock or the Hardy board, the tile backer board in as of that point. And those blocks are to keep me from packing the mud into between the studs. And the reason I do that is because I don't want the backer board going all the way to the floor of the pan. That just, to me, that leaves a way for water to get all the way to the bottom of the pan, and I don't want water to weep down into there, and I don't want the backer board to get wet. So I put it in after the pan is in place, and you'll see how I do that, but I don't like putting it in before the mud is packed in. Now when you put the liner in, you have to fold the corners. You cannot cut anywhere in the liner except like going over a curb or something, which you'll see. And they have end dams and stuff to take care of that. But you got to fold the corners. You cannot cut them, and you cannot have any nails or fasteners piercing the membrane. What I mean is the first 6 inches of the membrane cannot have anything piercing it. And I'm going to show another video of how I put the drain in, how I attach the drain to the membrane and tie it all together. Okay, here we are back at the shower pan, and I'm putting the drain in. I'm going to show you how I do that. I know the pan liner's way up on the walls. Wasn't my idea. Alright, what I do is I get over here where the shower drain is, and I find the bolts, and they're sticking up, and I cut little tiny X's out that don't even go over the head. And what I'll do is I'll pull this back, take the bolts out, and push them back through this side. And they'll barely fit through going this way. So that way when they're tightened down, the rubber seals it itself. And then when I get done with that, I cut a slit. I cut an X in the middle. Instead of cutting it all the way around, I cut an X in the middle. And those flaps will flap down when I put the centerpiece in. There's no way it can leak. All right, I want to show you. I got them poked through this side. I'll just show you how tight they are. See that one right there? See how that is? I'll put that in there and tighten that down. Put the flange back on. It's going to be sealed. And okay, now that the bolts are through, do the same thing with the flange. I put it on there and made a circle around it. See the X I'm going to cut. Not all the way quite to the edge. Well, that's on the inside. So I can almost go to there. I'll cut a little bit smaller and then push that flange through. I got the bolts in from the top. They're nice and snug. You can see there's no gap in between. And I like to, when I cut the drain hole, I don't cut around it like that and then silicone it. I'm going to silicone it just in case, but I like to cut these. You can feel the edge of the drain right here. Almost to the edge right there. Not quite to the edge. Here's the edge of the drain. See how that'll stretch? Edge of the drain right there. And then that way, whenever you put your flange in, tighten it down, it's going to be sealed all the way around. And watch this. Push that down in there. See how that'll open up? There's my bolts. All right. They'll just open right on up for you. See that? They open up even more where you can't see them once you get it all the way down. You can't even see them. But that way, there's no way they can leak. I'm going to put some silicone around it because it says so. Okay, the flood test on this big shower pan. Look at this big mama. It's big. Okay, the water line is right at the edge of that O on Odie. So we'll see what it looks like in the morning. Right on the edge of it. The next morning. And there it is. It's still right at the edge of the O in Odie. So we're good to go. Okay, I'm getting close to the drain, so I'm going to go ahead and put that gravel in there. That keeps them weep holes you saw earlier from clogging up with the mortar. And, I'm going to go ahead and pack a little bit around it so I don't move it by packing all around. I'm going to go ahead and put a little mortar up under it and pack it down. That way the gravel stays where it's at. And I'm just about done with this. Another bag of mud. A mortar. Well, we're almost there. I got that little pathway to the drain telling me how high it needs to be all right there. What I did is I took the grade level that I got, that little grade level, and I put it on this big level so I can get it all the way across. It's that grade level. When you want a 1/4 of an inch slope, that's where the bubble is, right on that middle line. When the edge of it touches that, that's a 1/4 inch per foot slope. That line right there is 1/8 of an inch. That line right there is level. So I want a 1/4 of an inch per foot. So I'll put it on there like that. You can look down through the top of it too. That is, can you see it? Right at a 1/4 inch mark. It's a little bit slope, more slope than, but it's right there on it. Better more than less. But, yep. Now I gotta come all the way down there. I'm almost halfway done. It's all downhill from here. Ha ha ha, get it? Ha ha. Alright, shower pan. It's been sitting there for a few days with plastic on it, keeping it wet. And I believe it was Saturday morning that I had the homeowner come in here and pull the plastic off so it could start drying. Now I'm putting up felt paper Somebody's right there in the closet. Putting up the tar paper, and then put up the backer board. It's a big shower. Well, here we are. I did the curb. That's wet mortar on there. I'm gonna, I let it sit up, and then I put sprinkled water on it, and I'm fixing to throw some plastic on it, cover it up. That way it'll stay wet overnight. Get real hard. The longer it stays wet, the harder it'll get. And, got all the Durock up, filled in some bad places on some of the edges there. But I want to tape it probably tomorrow. Got it cut in, and the nail holes filled, the screw holes filled, I mean. And, got around the perimeter on the roll. Probably about 3 good coats on that floor. A couple coats on the wall. And 3 or 4 good coats on that curb there. Once it dries, and once I take the plastic off and it dries, I'll skim it out one more time and let that dry and red guard it too. There we go, red guard up. 3 good coats on that floor. 3 or 4 thick coats on that curb. Thick.
Hello, fans.